Good day. We'll be presenting about the 1MDB scandal and the Steinhoff scandal. We are Group 7 and I am Godson Hesfeld. This is Tataya Onesele. This is Patience Akrolang. This is Hope Mudise. This is Cameron Otukire. This is Brian Badi. And this is Taboga Bubofai. So I'll be handing over to Hope to start the presentation. Thank you.
Good day. So we'll be looking into the 1MDB scandal, which is based in Malaysia. And Malaysia has a population of about 33.94 million and a GDP of 407.03 billion. So in the scandal, we'll basically be covering how the main character in the scandal, Jolo, was able to embezzle about $4 billion and its impact, the fundamental ethics reached, and also the mitigation recommendations as well. So I'll be handing over to the next speaker.
Okay, I'll be presenting about the background information of the 1MDB scandal. The One Malaysian Development Bank scandal of 2015, commonly known as the 1MDB scandal, involved a businessman and international fugitive named Jolo. The scandal was a corruption, money laundering, and bribery conspiracy in which 4.5 billion was embezzled out of the Malaysian state fund. It was also reported that the Malaysia's then Prime Minister Najib Razak was involved in this scandal as he had channeled over 2.67 billion into his personal accounts. Although the scandal originated in Malaysia, its worldwide scale involved organizations, persons in politics, finance, and entertainment, prompting criminal investigation in several countries. While I'll be handing over to the next speaker.
So I'm going to talk about the ethics code that were broken by the 1MDB scandal, which is integrity and objectivity. Under the integrity principle, professionals and authority figures, regardless of their field, must act with honesty and truthfulness. However, with charges ranging from corruption, embezzlement, money laundering, bribery, fraud, and tax evasion, to name the most impactful. This principle was blatantly disregarded by all actors involved in some capacity. While for objectivity, the previously mentioned actors in this scheme were well established with one another, thus being biased and judgmental based on other people's thoughts were a norm. The familiarity and personal relationships of Jolo with politicians and executives was an obvious violation of the objectivity principle, as they all worked together for their own personal enrichment.
Okay, good day everyone. I'll be talking about the internal and external factors that caused the 1MDB scandal. So displayed behind me are the internal factors. We have weak institution. So we're told that the internal control system that controls over spending and lending of money was defective and it didn't do their work well. So we're told that this means some members were able to take money freely and they were not accountable for it. We have Jolo's public status. So we're told that Jolo was described as a financial intermediary, which means he was able to use his connection to high net worth individuals to be able to link and manipulate the Malaysia Development Bank Fund. So this is also in line with the social exchange theory, where we were told that people have relationships with other people looking at the cost-beneficial analysis of it. So you see that Jolo was friends with rich people to be able to get monetary value or monetary gain from them. So the last one we have was a lack of transparency with relevant bodies such as KPMG, which was their audit firm. We now have the external environmental factors. So we have power dynamics. External factors such as power dynamics within the government and news agency executives silence the mainstream media from investigating 1MDB. We also have the concentration of power in the government. The organization of the government structure was destructive in the sense that checks and balances were eroded. We're told that Najib Razak was a prime minister and also at the same time he was the leader of the Elections Commission and the Human Rights Commission. That really shows how power was concentrated. The last one we have was the muzzled mainstream media. So we are told that, as mentioned, there was over concentration of power in the government. And so the mainstream media would easily be silenced and be prevented from covering some parts of the news, since some government officials were involved in these scandals. Well, I'll be passing over to my next colleague.
Now, I'll be taking you through the social and economic impact of this scandal, not just on Malaysia's status, but her citizens. So for the economic impact, the $12 billion worth of debt that were accumulated by this state-owned company had to be taken over by the government of Malaysia and her taxpayers, causing a credit rating downgrade, making it hard for it to lend from international financial organizations such as the International Monetary Fund. Another economic impact will be the loss in investor confidence and drop in foreign direct investment alongside capital flight. This caused a 0.5% drop in economic output just due to how much money was leaving the country. So for the social impact, it will be the corruption charges that were involved by the Prime Minister at that time. This led to concerns about the governance of the country and the rule of law, undermining investor confidence and just confidence in her citizens. Politicians today use fear-mongering over corruption to undermine their opposition so that they can gain votes. It's a bit of a competition of, hey, he's corrupt, vote for me. However, this did have the added benefit of uniting the people of Malaysia against corruption, having an anti-corruption rhetoric that till date is still in the psyche. As recently as earlier this year, the sitting Prime Minister, Enna, tried to reduce the sentencing of the Prime Minister that was involved in this scandal. However, that led to a public outcry and a call of his resignation due to allegations of his own corruption over this matter. I'll now be handing it over to Obmedis to cover the recommendations.
Okay, so now looking into the recommendations which can be implemented to prevent the occurrence of scandals of this nature from occurring, we first need to address money laundering issues. So, millions of transactions occur on a day-to-day basis, and it will physically be impossible for people to cross-check the authenticity of each transaction. This is where we include AI and machine learning, which basically will be programmed to quickly analyze transactions and quickly flag any suspicious transactions which may occur. Secondly, looking into having a framework of laws which apply to many countries will be useful, as it will enforce anti-money laundering requirements, and also it will make it more easy for these laws to be enforced, because if you have the same framework across multiple countries, it reduces the occurrence of financial fraud from occurring to begin with. Okay, so secondly, we have internalized controls. So this is basically a system of safeguards which are used to protect organizations from potential harm. So in that 1MDB scandal, we saw that Jolo was working very closely with Deloitte, if I'm not mistaken. So that in itself that exchange of working with an auditor for a very extended period of time can cause familiarity bias. So in internalized controls, we're basically looking at rotating our auditors so that it can avoid familiarity bias and also prevent financial fraud from occurring. Okay, so now we'll be looking into the Steinhoff Scandal, and this is a scandal which literally is considered one of the largest corporate cases in South Africa, which involves a multinational retail conglomerate headquartered in Johannesburg, South Africa. South Africa has proved itself to be one of the largest growing economies in Africa. It has a population of about 59.89 million and a GDP of 405.87 billion. So in this scandal, we will, likewise with other scandals, we'll be diving into the background, the fundamental principles breached, the internal and external factors contributing to the case, the social and economic impact of the scandal itself, and lastly, the mitigation recommendations. So I'll be handing over to my colleague.
I'll be talking about the background information of Steinhoff Scandal. The Steinhoff Scandal erupted in December 2017 when the news broke about the accounting irregularities within the company. This revelation caused the scandal share price to fall by over 95%, leading to a massive loss in investors and pension fund. Investigations reveals that profit has been floated over some times, misleading the market about the company's health, the financial health. This scandal resulted in lawsuit, fine for executives, and the ongoing search for authorities. I'll hand it to the next speaker.
Yes, I'm going to be talking about the ethics codes that were broken in the Steinhoff scandal. The first one is integrity. Major accounting irregularities and financial misrepresentation amounting to fraud have been committed with a fraudulent intention against the investing public and other stakeholders. There's an integrity failure as it shows that honest and accurate financial records were not reported and reflected with transparency in totality. The second one is going to be professional behavior. There's a clear show of lack of professional behavior from the parties that were involved in this controversy, as it shows that they engage in unethical practices of overestimating the profit margins and manipulating financial statements. Professional conduct imposes that an accountant acts in the best interest of the clients and other parties concerned, at the same time maintaining the integrity and good repute of the profession. The scandal clearly violated this principle and caused damage and loss of trust to the accounting profession as a whole. I'll be handing over to the next colleague.
Okay, I'll be covering the internal and external environmental factors that caused the Steinhoff scandal. So the first one here, we have incorrect board structure and composition. We're told that US had been a CEO for Steinhoff for over 17 years. So we've also done some research and revealed that someone should be a CEO for around 7 to 15 years. So being a CEO for 17 years may have led to him being overly familiar with the company. We also have nepotism and unlawful discrimination. So it was revealed that the board was populated with white males from 1999 to 2015. And we also know by the behavioral science theory that relationships are formed and people do things motivated by social needs and also self-actualization. So having a club of friendship like this would have encouraged the members to be in a club of friendship would have encouraged the members to start on corrupt activities, since they were now all friends and all familiar with each other. And this may have lowered the objectivity, leading to the onset of the scandal. We now have the external environmental factors. The first one is failure for effective external audit. So when Deloitte LLP demanded for an investigation, Marcus Joester resisted, but instead he resigned, and he did not convince the Steinhoff board to appoint new auditors. So we are also told that the auditors he had appointed were intentionally overlooking overstatements in the financial records. We also have the unsustainable corporate strategy. So Steinhoff was known for buying off major businesses and merging with some international businesses. So this was not a good idea because it showed that the company did not have a specific aim for business. And while merging with these companies and acquiring some, they were also incurring high debt. I'll now be passing over to my colleague.
Now, for the economic impact, there were two types. There was the short term and the long term. The short term was due to how heavily invested the public was in this company. When the scandal was brought out and it went through financial turmoil, the public had to lower down their spending in order to accommodate the losses they experienced. And because of this, it caused a short-term recession in the country. While for the long term, due to loss in investor confidence and the loss in foreign direct investment, along with the short-term causes, there was a notable economic decline after that period. And another implication of those impact was the fact that the rand ended up fluctuating and even falling, weakening against the countries that it imports its goods from, increasing the trade, increasing the prices of imported goods and the trade deficit, which again made it hard for households to be able to buy those necessary imported goods. I would now like to hand it over to Hope Modise to cover the recommendations.
Okay, so first of all, we need to address the issues of transparency. And then the scandal, it was observed that the company executives failed to disclose a lot of information. And in the end, it led to a loss on the stakeholders' end, as they were under the impression that the company was performing well. However, that was not the case, as the company executives inflated their profits. So we can implement practices such as risk management. So within the recruitment process, it's important that just in itself, the recruitment process is, the aim of the recruitment process is to select the best candidate. So by implementing other practices such as risk management, it can help organizations to weed out candidates who may pose as a risk to the organization. And lastly, by promoting ethical culture and conduct, it can prevent the need of employees to act out of misconduct, and we can back this up by using the Maslow's hierarchy of needs. In this hierarchy of needs, it basically focuses on satisfying the needs of all individuals. And although it's physically impossible to satisfy the needs of everybody, if we prioritize satisfying the needs of majority of our employees in organizations, that in itself can prevent the desire of majority of our employees to act out of conduct. So with that being said, that comes to the end of our presentation. These are our references.